This is CBC Saturday News.
Good evening, I'm Marivelle Tarouk. With the colder weather comes flu season, and experts warn this year the virus is stronger than ever. But there's a problem. There's a shortage of the flu vaccine, so doctors are urging the most vulnerable populations to get vaccinated first. Natalie Nanowski has the details.
At this Toronto trade show targeting baby boomers, there's a booth dedicated to administering the flu shot.
People are really eager to get it now, so there was a lineup. As soon as we were even getting our stuff organized, they were ready and willing.
Earlier this year, I've had bronchitis, and I don't want to spend the winter coughing and sneezing or even risking pneumonia.
That's because those over 65 are at high risk for flu complications and hospitalization. So they're just one of the groups doctors are trying to vaccinate first.
Okay, here we go.
The virus has come in a little bit earlier, and what we're getting is we seem to be getting a more virulent response, when it infects people.
Canada models its response to the influenza virus after watching what happens in Australia. And this year's virus hit hard. The World Health Organization is taking longer to identify the common strains circulating, so the vaccine has been slow to roll out.
It's a supply manufacturing problem. The vaccine is only as good as the strain that you're actually putting into it. And like I said, if there are changes in the strains or if morphing is going on, it's very difficult to know exactly what it is that you're going to put in that vaccine.
All of this uncertainty means the virus can have adverse effects on the province's already strained emergency rooms. Ontario's Minister for Seniors joined others getting vaccinated to spread awareness.
If we keep the seniors out of a hospital, so much better for them and better for the hospital, all the taxpayers, right?
So if you're not able to get in on this round of flu vaccines, doctors say that the next batch is coming out early to mid-November. So remember to get vaccinated then in order to keep yourself and your family healthy this holiday season. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
The idea of giving everyone a basic annual income is gaining traction in some parts of the world. It's touted as a way to fight poverty and boost the overall economy at the same time. There was a rally in support of that idea at Ontario's legislature today. CBC's Philip Lee Shannock was there too.
Now, this rally is part of a global movement. There are marches being held in New York, San Francisco, Amsterdam, and Berlin. What they're asking for is universal basic income. And what's that? It's a guaranteed amount of money for every Canadian citizen with no strings attached. Now, proponents say that this would improve the economy, alleviate poverty, and actually encourage entrepreneurship and volunteerism. And they say the cost is well outweighed by the benefits. Now, there was a universal basic income pilot project here in Ontario. Here's what one participant said it made the difference in her life.
It was an incredibly positive impact. I was able to, I'm basically a product of the gig economy, like many people my age and many of my friends, in that all of our work is contract, it's precarious, none of it pays a living wage. And I had 4 jobs before I was on basic income, and then I was able to drop down, pursue my business, have more time to focus on that, and have that security of knowing that no matter what, my rent is going to be covered every month.
Now, 4,000 people around the province were part of the pilot project, which was canceled by the Doug Ford government before it could be assessed. Now, regardless, proponents say there are examples of how a universal basic income program would work, and that's the Canada Child Benefit Program, which provides 1 million people with guaranteed income. They say that using a basic income program would expand that to even more Canadians, and that's what they're calling on for today. Philip Lee Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police say 2 people were found with obvious trauma outside a residential building in Davisville this afternoon. Police were called to the building just before 12:30 p.m. 2 people found did not have vital signs and were taken to hospital in critical condition. Police say they are treating the case as suspicious and the investigation is ongoing. Ontario's police watchdog is investigating after a police officer shot a man multiple times early this morning. The shooting happened at a Tim Hortons drive-through near Jane Street and Falstaff Avenue in North York. Police received a call for an incident of road rage. The caller said the driver of the other vehicle may have been armed. Officers found that vehicle in the Tim Hortons drive-thru. After an altercation with the 29-year-old driver, an officer discharged his firearm multiple times, striking the man. The man was taken to hospital in serious condition. The Special Investigations Unit is called in when a police is involved in cases of death or serious injury. And shootings continued in Toronto, this time in Thorncliffe Park, where a man and a woman were seriously injured after someone opened fire on their parked car in the area of Thorncliffe Park Drive near Overley Boulevard. The pair was sitting in the vehicle when it was shot around midnight. When officers arrived, they found a 34-year-old man and a 27-year-old woman suffering from gunshot wounds. The victims say they don't know who shot at them or where the gunfire came from. Investigators are urging anyone with information or dash cam footage to come forward. The TTC is increasing its number of electric buses across the network.
This is a vital part of our meeting our climate change objectives, our greenhouse gas emissions reduction program, which is to switch over our fleets, not just of buses, but of also city vehicles to renewable vehicles as quickly as we can.
The city hopes to transition all of their vehicles to low-carbon energy by 2050. They say the TTC's new e-buses operate with zero tailpipe emissions, and new charging stations have been added at the Mount Dennis Bus Garage. The TTC has purchased 60 all-electric buses. The full complement of buses is scheduled to arrive by early 2020, making up one of the largest mini fleets of electric buses in North America. The electrification of the buses is part of the city's commitment to fighting climate change. A live look now at what is supposed to be Torontohenge. The term is used when a sunrise or sunset is in line with our city's street grid, usually creating a radiant orange light. Not quite the case today, and maybe when that streetcar goes by, we'll see a better shot of it. Some cloudy weather, though, getting in the way as well of seeing a brighter sunset. But at least those skies are clear for now, Matt, but I understand not for much longer.
No, not for much longer at all. We had a great sunset that you were speaking of yesterday. Saw a photo of that, absolutely fantastic. But tonight going to be a much different story. This is what we're sitting at right now, 9, feeling like 6. Check out those winds, 29 kilometers an hour coming out of the east. And we are expecting the rain to begin in the next couple of hours and continue significantly overnight. Special weather statement for rainfall across much of the GTA, and we also have a wind warning around the St. Catharines, Niagara region as well. So this is a look at our future radar, and you can see pretty heavy amounts of rainfall coming overnight and into the pre-dawn hours on Sunday. So we know a lot of Halloween parties going on tonight. Make sure that an umbrella and some rain gear is part of your costume as you head out the door, because you are likely going to need it. This is what we're looking at this evening. Pretty cool temperatures as well. 9 in Toronto, 7 in Kitchener among some of our temperatures, and high strong winds as well, getting into the 70s as we get in the overnight hours and early Sunday morning in Toronto and the surrounding areas as well. Pretty significant amounts of rainfall. And again, that pulse is going to be the overnight hours, midnight and later, expecting about 15 to 25 millimeters during that time. And that's what we're looking at overall for rainfall over the next few hours, and our temperatures for Sunday around the seasonal mark.
Okay, thanks, Matt. We'll check in with you a bit later.
Yep.
Hundreds of people are getting ready for an event called Deaf Night Out. Dubbed one of Toronto's most culturally diverse events, it is one of the only events where everyone can communicate with each other using American Sign Language. Angelina King is live at the venue on Bloor Street along with an ASL interpreter. Angelina, tell us why this is such a big night for the deaf community.
Well, this is a party that people have been waiting for months. It's kind of a reunion of sorts and a rare opportunity for the deaf community to all be together in one place where everybody communicates with sign language. And that's what Christopher Delage is doing here beside me. So he's interpreting what I'm saying and interpreted our interviews today. Now, this is going to be quite the party. 300 people are expected to attend, some people even coming from overseas. Most of them are deaf, but some people will be here learning sign language. They're still just setting things up behind me, and as they were doing that, I was able to ask the organizer, why is it so important to bring the community together at an event like this one?
Well, the deaf community is the most cherished part of our culture, of course. And some move out of the country and out of the city, and a lot of us grew up and went to the same schools. And sometimes people come from other countries who went to deaf schools, and they come looking for the deaf community. So we want people to be together and not be alone, for example. So, for example, in the Asian community, if somebody comes from an Asian country, they may seek out their community in Toronto. So it's the same with the deaf community, is we want them to have a place to go where they can all be together and they can see their community and keep our community alive by all being together.
So tonight is a Halloween party. If you haven't noticed some of the decorations behind me, there will be a costume contest, there will be music, dancing, deaf performers will be taking to the stage, all kinds of good stuff. I spoke with one man earlier today and he told me that he just loves coming to these events and that he meets new people every time.
Well, it's important to have fun, to be able to meet new people, and they have different jobs and different experiences, and to be able to learn from each one of them. And I like to learn from different people and to learn about culture.
So I asked the organizer what he wants a hearing person to know. He said he wants people to not be afraid to learn about the deaf community, to learn about deaf culture. He wants people to learn sign language and have no fear doing that. He said the best way to do that is to immerse yourself in it. So, for example, an event like this would be the perfect place to do that. And he told me that everybody is welcome. Maribel?
Sure makes you wish to see more of that around. Great job, Angelina, for you and your interpreter. Thank you. British police are working to identify the 39 people found dead in the back of a truck near London on Wednesday and continue with arrests and charges connected to the disturbing incident. We'll have details after the break. A truck driver is facing manslaughter charges 3 days after 39 people were found dead in a truck near London, England. 4 others have been arrested in connection with the case. British police haven't confirmed the identities of the victims, but some Vietnamese families have come forward, claiming their loved ones are among the dead. CBC's Lorenda Redicott reports.
It's still not officially confirmed who died in that refrigerated container truck, but some families are already in mourning. Nguyen Din too was married with a young son. His father says relatives in England were supposed to pick him up. He was on that truck, he says. All 39 are dead, and he must be one of them. He is gone now. He says his son was discharged from the military and had left the country to find work. We are hungry and poor, he says. Around here in the countryside, there is nothing we can do to earn money. Hundreds of people gathered to pray for the dead at this Catholic church in a poor rice-growing area of the country. The priest has said he's working with grief-stricken families. Police initially reported the victims were Chinese, now saying they can't confirm the nationalities of all the 8 women and 31 men and are waiting for autopsy results. But they say many Vietnamese people have reached out to them, and they've spoken with that country's ambassador. Police had this message for people who believe they've lost a loved one, including those in the country illegally.
If you come into us, we will do everything we can to put our arm around you, take you through this process, identify as quickly as possible to see whether or not we do indeed have one of your loved one involved in this tragic incident.
He acknowledged a similar incident could happen again.
That criminals, and that's what we're dealing with, is criminals, murderers, are taking more and more chances with these vulnerable people.
One Vietnamese woman believed to have been killed texted her mother on Tuesday, "Mommy, I love you. I'm dying because I can't breathe. I'm suffocating. Mommy, I'm sorry." Today, her father said he'd asked how she was going to travel. "If I had known that she would go by this way, nobody would let their kids go. I would never let her go." The driver is scheduled to appear in court on Monday as families continue to grieve, still waiting for answers. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
A former White House aide is asking a federal court to decide whether he should testify at the congressional impeachment inquiry. Former Deputy National Security Advisor Charles Kupperman has been subpoenaed, but he's also under orders from the White House not to testify. Kupperman says he can't honor both orders and wants the courts to tell him what to do. Meanwhile, there was a rare Saturday hearing on the Hill. Philip Rieker, acting U.S. Secretary of State for Europe, was asked about the circumstances around the ousting of the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. And there are media reports that former National Security Advisor John Bolton may testify. Bolton's lawyers are reported to be in negotiations with the 3 House committees about a possible closed-door deposition. Iraq's anti-government protests turned deadly again today. At least 5 people were killed and 80 more wounded. In the capital, 3 died, hit in the head with police tear gas canisters. 2 more died in the southern city of Nasiriyah when police fired on protesters storming an official's house. 52 were killed yesterday. The protesters are denouncing living conditions and putting the blame on political elites. Protests 2 weeks ago left 150 dead. Well, this is a live look at the Toronto skyline. 10 degrees at the moment. Clear skies as well. Your long-range forecast is coming up after the break. Stay with us. Well, if you collect or enjoy contemporary art, the place to be this weekend is Toronto. You'll find it all in one place at the 20th edition of Art Toronto. Commercial galleries from right across Canada are in the city to put on an exhibition. The CBC's Yelena Adzik was there to take in the sights and sounds.
Celebrating its 20th anniversary, Art Toronto is the only international art fair that really draws on galleries as well as collectors that are coast to coast. As you walk around, you will see works from famous painters such as Miro, as well as Picasso and Andy Warhol, but the main focus is on the diverse slate of homegrown talent. From vivid and wildly expressive paintings to thought-provoking photography and some unusual installations, this is the anti-snob vibe. It's relaxed, but unlike a small gallery here, the intimidation factor is gone. You don't have to buy anything, but there is a range of price points that has helped Art Toronto become known as the place where many make their first investment in art. There is so much diversity represented here, not just in terms of the subject matter of the art, but also in terms of the artists who put the art out there. We had a chance to catch up with some artists, as well as the head of Art Toronto, and Mayor John Tory happened to stop by too.
Shows like this, they do a lot of business, and that's very important to the health and well-being of the artists. And so that's important. But I think as important as anything else is that thousands of Torontonians and visitors come through here and get a glimpse of the soul of the city and of the country.
Art Toronto opened 20 years ago with 60 galleries. We now have double that, about 120 exhibitors. Most are Canadian, but we have a really healthy mix of American and international galleries as well, just to create a little international context for what makes the artwork here in Canada so great.
To say that art fairs are great for first-time buyers, but also seasoned individuals that actually frequent galleries or museums, because it's a snapshot of what's going on across Canada in the contemporary world.
Vivid and wildly expressive paintings to thought-provoking photography and innovative sculptures, Art Toronto really does have a little bit of something for everyone. Yelena Adzik, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Matt is back with a look at our long-range forecast, but it sounds like the next 24 hours is really something to pay attention to.
Yes, it is. So I'm going to circle back to that to begin with. As we start with this evening, you see rain across the region. Temperatures a little cool, 9 in Toronto, 11 in Oakville, and that rain expected to begin through the evening hours, intensify overnight and through the pre-dawn hours, and then clearing up a little bit as we get through the tail end of Sunday morning and into the afternoon. So it does look a little bit better there. So again, like you said, going to be a story over the course of the next 24 hours. Wind gusts pretty significant as well, in the 70s of kilometers per hour across Toronto at some points this evening. Here is our rainfall outlook for the next couple of days. In the surge, in the overnight hours, expecting about 15 to 25 millimeters in some areas, but as you can see, 30 to 50 near Sarnia. So definitely some flood possibilities starting tonight through to Monday. So definitely something that people need to be aware of as this system makes its way through. As we get through Sunday, temperatures rebound, seasonal, maybe a little bit above, but that rain in the icon still for what we're expecting in the morning, but expected to clear as we get more towards the afternoon. Evening, as you can see, clearing out through those afternoon evening hours. Monday setting up pretty favorably as well. And over the next 3 days, take a look at Tuesday, 17 for Toronto on Tuesday, in Hamilton as well, 16 in Oshawa. So we're going to be peaking in terms of temperatures, but I know everybody wants to know what's it going to look like for Halloween. We're already getting there. We're only a few days away. Pretty sharp temperature gradient in terms of what we can expect as we get through to Thursday. Wet and possibly windy. It's still a little bit far out for us to pinpoint exactly where this is going to hit and timing, stuff like that, but it is a possibility that we are going to see some wet weather on Thursday evening, just as trick-or-treaters start to make their way out, which I know is not what people want to hear. It's always the worst. As a kid, you spend all that time thinking about a great costume, and then mom insists on it being covered up by a jacket or a sweater or something like that. So this is what we're looking at. I hope that we're going to be able to provide an update, more positive update as we get later into the week, but that's what we're looking at as of now.
You and all the trick-or-treaters hoping. Thanks a lot, Matt.
No problem.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. Before we go, though, we want to give you a look at a very special Halloween celebration today at the Bentway, or should I say, Halloween. Have a great night, everyone.
Walking through the streets of Soho in the rain. He was looking for the place called the Whole Foods. each child